for a second. Mr. Davidson.
We update the photo of the glacier document its decline.
More stark if you do it once a decade. More stark if you do it once a decade.
Okay, next time. Right, so I'll declare the meeting open at 1:20. Welcome to all members, council members, staff, members of the public, Emma. Welcome to today's meeting. To all those watching via live stream. So we'll start with the Marcus. So we'll start with the Karakia. So I haven't actually teed this up. Is anybody willing to do the Karakia for me? No. Oh, would you like to do the Karakia? Oh God.
Joan Walsh, she says.
All right. Okay.
May peace be widespread, may the sea be like greenstone. Pathway for us all this day. Give love, receive love. Let us show respect for each other. Bind us all together.
Right, apologies. We have Councillor Tumahoi as an apology, and that is the only one we have. So can I move a second to please resolve that the apology be received and accepted? Councillor Verdon, Councillor Collette. All in favour?
Aye.
Oh, that was short-lived again, wasn't it? Right, declarations of interest as usual, if everybody can update that as required. As changes occur, that would be appreciated. Urgent items not on the agenda, there are none, so we move straight on to the minutes of meetings. The ordinary council meeting minutes of 24 October 2024 and the extraordinary council meeting minutes of 30th October 2024. The resolution is that the minutes of both those meetings be confirmed as a true and correct record of the meeting. Do I have a movement or seconder, please? Councillor Baird, seconder, Councillor Gillette. All in favour?
Just clear on that, the minutes, the extraordinary meeting on the 30th of October is the meeting starting at 3 o'clock and finishing at 1:42.
Oh gosh, well picked up.
Fair point, Drew.
The correction is 1 PM, finishing at, is that right?
And then it showed that the meeting started at 3, but finished at 1:42.
I think that's the meeting that started at 3.
I think they just made a correction to possibly 2:42.
Yeah.
Right, so the edit to that will have that one meeting started at 1.
At 3.
At 3.
3:42.
And it's finished at 3:42.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologise. Okay, so that correction's been recognised, and thank you for pointing that out for that to be done. So I approve that my digital signature be added to confirm council meeting minutes of 24th October 2024.
So do we have matters arising from this, or is that after?
Right, now.
Okay, so just a question, something here on the Swing Bridge, if we clarify the future of ownership on that or not?
Not at this time, no, but that was on our action.
So the action is yes. So I approve that my digital signature be added to the confirmed council meeting minutes of 24th October 2024 and 30th October 2024. Minutes to be received from standing committees. It's the Risk and Assurance Committee meeting of 8th of August and Extraordinary Risk and Assurance Committee meeting of 17th of October 2024. Can I have a move and second, please, for that resolution? Councillor Gillette, thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Baird, thank you very much. All in favour? Karen, thank you very much. Action list, we move on to using as acting chief executive to speak to that report, please.
afternoon, Mayor and councillors, presenting the action list. The first item on the list is the Patty Waitara building. We have no further updates on this. The report is due to come back in early 2025. Any questions on that? Okay. The second item is the Lower Hokitika Gorge Swing Bridge, and we have a report on this council meeting regarding the bridge. The Hokitika Museum Trust Board formation, I have no updates. Maybe I could refer that question to our Community Services Manager if there's any further update on this.
No, I have no updates.
But that is in progress and will be brought back at a later date. The next item is Department of Conservation, rubbish bins, feral cats, and there are no further updates on that. Council staff are working with DOC on these issues. And that is the action list.
Thank you, Leslie. Are there any questions for Leslie, please?
Your Worship, the Museum Trust Board, are we reaching out to other Museum Trust Boards for how they operate?
Did I defer that question to?
Yes, certainly.
Management?
Yes, absolutely. I have some contact with the Invercargill board down there, so I can get some information and bring it back to the council if they would like some of that information. But as of today, I haven't been instructed to go and sort of do any investigation, but I'm happy to take that instruction.
I think through the Worship, I think we should reach out to local bodies around the country that, and of similar size, probably. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, but we do need, it's an opportunity to get a trust board that's fit for purpose here, but works elsewhere, shown to proven to work. So, rather than staff trying to draft up something and bring it to us, I think let's have a look at how it's done elsewhere, where it works, and bring that back and tweak it.
That's a good idea.
Through the chair, I think Paul's quite right, and I think that's how we were talked into the idea in the first place, that it does work in other places, and some museums have managed to do a lot with that. So I think that's sort of where things were going. It just seems to have sort of fallen over.
So with that, I'm not too sure. Leslie, does the CE need to instruct Marcus to engage with that, or does Marcus free to just uptake that comment and look at that?
We can just do that. We'll just add it to the action list.
Yeah,
But,
cool. Awesome.
Community Services Manager is after that.
Yeah, cool. No, and it fits in with what Marcus is working on with the other aspects of the museum as well. So it most means that you can keep things rolling and put it together as deemed functional and necessary. So it fits in with everything else that you're working on with too. Good, excellent. Thank you for that. Thanks, Marcus. Thank you for that, Leslie. Sorry, Riley.
Sorry, just through your worship, council headquarters, that was missed off the list. It says we're due a report back in early 2025. How early? Because this seems to be one that's been kicked down the road for a long, long time.
District Practice Manager.
Through the chair, it'll be in January. Really. Thank you.
And it's very much a modified report on what we've looked at previously, as well as far as capital costs, etc.
And we can add that to the action list.
Yeah. It is in there, but it's just blended into the pinky section.
Through the chair, the item regarding dock removal of waste rubbish bins can probably be taken off the agenda because there's not a lot of us we can do about that. It's just a statement of fact that's actually happened. So I don't think we've got any recourse to dock instruct them or advise them to put waste bins back in their areas.
So who does the cost fall back on to gather that rubbish and dispose of it?
It'll either come into the transfer station or into here.
So it fall back on the ratepayer
Yes.
to pick up from the docks campsites?
Well, we're not picking it up, it just depends on where
Well,
it is.
what I mean by that, it doesn't matter where it's distributed, it's going to fall back onto the ratepayers to manage that cost.
They would have been true regardless, wouldn't it?
Sorry.
No, because they used to manage the disposal of it. They took it to the refuse station for
Right.
campsites.
They would still have to. We're not going out cleaning up their campsites, enough people with rubbish.
No, they're removing them.
No, we'll just be trusting responsible freedom campers to dispose of their rubbish
Yeah.
responsibly.
Yeah, the question is if it's an overall DOC decision over all their campsites around New Zealand, there is absolutely nothing we can do with that. If it was just on the West Coast, maybe there's conversations that can be had, but I believe it's an all of New Zealand decision.
And they're gonna want compensation or
Yeah,
something for that, which is why they're.
Well, it may have been, probably a moot point, but it may have been done at a conservancy level as well, or different conservancies may have had their budgets cut, and then it's just a decision that's been made within this conservancy, so they're managing whichever assets they have, or with the liable board, so.
Yes, is it rubbish bin, is that one at Goldsboro as well?
It's anywhere on top.
hold on, thanks. They're under cost constraints.
Well, there was only two skips that I know of. One was at Mahanapur and one was at Canary, not at the campsites at all. Because, no, not at the campsites. About 10 years ago, they used to have rubbish bins at the campsites. And then the department said, we want to remove those, and the people would take their rubbish away. And that's what happened. So then there was some bins, one at Mahanapur,
Yes, it was like that.
and one at Hunts Bay, along the road there. And that was it. I don't recall one at Goldsboro at all.
We've also got South Westland to include in that, councillor,
Yes,
and there was quite a few down there as
yes.
well.
Yeah.
It's not just.
I'm just referring to what we've got Mahanapur, Canary and Goldsboro.
I think there's a confusion between council bins and DOC bins.
Yeah.
Council took the council skipped things out years ago, correct? And DOC are now taking out their rubbish bins out of the campsite.
Yes.
The bins have been out of the campsites for years.
We have allowed
no,
them
no,
every
no.
year, and there were bins there.
There's been bins there, and they've made an announcement, they're pulling out the last of their bins that have been still in existence, they're pulling them all out. Yeah.
A lot did get pulled out.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Right, thank you for that. Thank you, Leslie, for that. Just, sorry, Jane.
Swingwood ownership, are we going to discuss that later with the report?
Yes. It's Leslie's, the CE's report.
And council.
And else. Else, don't say that.
No, council.
Else.
Yeah.
I thought he was just trying to
I wasn't steering with something.
stir. Right, is there anything further for Leslie? Right, can I have a mover and a seconder, please, and resolve that the updated action list be approved, be received, sorry. Mover and seconder, councillor Gillett, thank you. Councillor Beard, thank you. All in favour? Carried, thank you very much. Right, we have no presentations, but we have quite a few staff reports to get through. So, first off is our acting chief executive, Leslie, to speak to the first report, quarterly report, sorry. Thanks, Leslie.
I've read the report to thread, and I will try and answer any questions on this. However, this was written by the previous acting chief executive. See what we can do.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Kessler.
Several points from me. Leslie, obviously acknowledge you're in the role for a week, and if you can't answer it, that's cool, we can come back with answers. First point, obviously we note in there the November storm event, so I think just publicly recording council's thanks to everybody who contributed towards those roads reopening, Jackson's Bay Road and obviously Knights Point, because there's a significant amount of work that's gone on down there. Dog control services again comes up for use given to staff members, vehicles swerve towards staff members and stuff. I know the police have been involved, but at what point can we do more to make it safe for one of our staff members to be at work?
So what we are doing, the dog control now has a dash cam in the vehicle, and they have a slash vest, and they have a camera, a body camera as well. But we are looking for any staff that are out and about, such as buildings, planning, inspectors, that they will have body cams as well. And also maybe a pool that if anybody else needs to go out for any on-site visits, that they can get a body cam as well. It's not something we really like to do, but I'm afraid the lay of the land is that, you know, we do need to protect staff. And this is one way that we can at least manage that. There's good research that people knowing that they're being recorded can help alleviate any issues. So we're hoping that it will just be something that will help with that.
I can't think of any other examples of PTE or cameras that would help, but is there anything else, if we explored all other options to be, arming is the wrong word, but providing the tools of the trade that would better support who not to have these things continuing to happen to her on a monthly, quarterly, daily, weekly basis?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an area that we are, sorry, I thought I was getting up to say something. Yeah, it's an area that we obviously take very seriously, and we will manage as we can. Yeah. And our health and safety person is really hot on it.
Right.
So.
Just supplementary to Ashley's question, is it only the dog control vehicle, or do all council vehicles have a dash cam?
No, at the moment it's just the dog control.
Would it be good for all of them to have?
If we feel there's a need to put dash cams, the problem we have is privacy. So we have to manage those recordings and making sure they're in a secure place. So we have to consider the Privacy Act as well as the safety of staff and dash cameras. So we're trying to balance that as well.
And it's all part and parcel too of the sort of the structure of the dog control component of our business as we go to the SPCA. It's giving them safe passage to work from. And I fully support it. I think they need to have that confidence that they've got that.
Through the chair, we're not proposing that all staff members go out into the site and volunteers. It's only if the staff assess the risk of being confrontational or somewhere their own risk might be jeopardy of risk.
Not at this stage, we're not.
No.
If we have to.
We will. Yes. Agree.
Last two from me, the eyesight stats show growth of between 7.5 and 36% increases year on year across all three stats measured there. So I think just acknowledging the work the Crash Media team do in that space, which is great, and obviously there's more room for forward growth as well, so it'll be interesting to see those stats as we move forward. The pool, obviously, I suspect the seasonal spike between July and October from roughly 700 to roughly 1,300 people a month. Do we have back year's history of that we can then compare, I guess, success of that business unit against previous years?
Probably not, because of it being Destination Westland. Yeah.
Can we request such information?
We can try and work with them to get that information.
Through the chair, just regarding the pool, I see I've been personally using the pool myself over the last 3 weeks, and still the shower blockage issues.
Yes. I don't know if we've got an update on that yet.
I know there was an issue right at the start.
It's a triple act.
Through the chair,
my team deals with maintenance issues there, but I'm not in the knowledge of day-to-day.
Yeah, I know there was issues at the start on the corner there with the ladies' bathrooms, but this, obviously still ongoing. And just to note too that the staff down there are hugely proactive, and they now actually have little leaflets on the desks, which I've taken to pop in my Airbnb folders, and I have had 2 lots of visitors visit the pool that they didn't know existed. So that's so good to increase the numbers.
Yeah. And I'd just like to reiterate the eyesight. I know it's been up for discussion in the past what part it plays. But I think the focus on seeing what can be done with that, seeing where it does sit, see if it can return and take less burden out of the ratepayers. I think Lucretia has got that well under control. She's very focused. She's working very closely with Marcus on this. And I think with the road closure we've just gone through, the part that the I-State played was integral to keeping traffic going and heading into South Westland. There's a lot of bookings, a lot of business that they protected with the work that they did being open through that time and advocating. So kudos to them. We actually have a pretty slick, smart team there, and if that can be turned around to be a proactive entity of council, then that's a great result.
Will Pat, I'm going to comment, please, Pat.
Anything further? Sorry, that's clear.
In through your worship, the Harvard basketball court and proposed for Cass Square, who was behind that? And when was required?
The community brought that to us, and at the time we had no funding for it, but they were talking about getting some funding themselves. At the present time, I don't believe we have any funding for that.
Through the chair. No, we've applied for different regimes of funding, but at this stage, nothing.
It would be something through the LTP that we could put in that on provider funding.
Would it be more appropriate for a community group to pick that project up?
My understanding was it was driven by Western Basketball Association, or the correct use of the acronym.
And that's probably where it sits going forward, because I know they're keen to actually work on that going forward.
Through the chair, we've actually discussed it. Through the group, so.
I think it came onto the council agenda as sort of a, whether we would be paying for it or doing whatever, but I think the conversation went back to being a community focused. And then it was parked because there was no fund and there was nobody there wanting to really crank it up, but I think that's come back now since the playground. I know that was one of the discussions that was brought to us on the day of the opening, wasn't it? There was just all the chatter about the bike part, what next, so.
It was also part as well because at the time there were discussions about the skate park
Yes.
and whether that was going to be extended or changed or whatever, and it was, because I think they talked about putting that on the end of it, whereas we didn't really know what was going to happen in that area as well.
There's a conversation about that again in the new year, bringing the public into it.
Sounds wonderful, I just don't want it to stall, so I just saw it in the report and what next.
So that's understood, councillor. We will keep looking for alternative funding. Considering it's one of New Zealand's highest active sports at the moment. So.
The highest growth sport worldwide, I believe.
Actually, in some ways, it'd be quite nice each year to have a community type project, which we've done the playground to bring something else in like that, and then we can, it's really here done, we can take that out to the other communities and focus on something like that that brings everybody together and creating something viable and worthy
Probably
for
need a
communities.
master plan for Cass Square.
That's what I was just going to say. Has any master planning work been done at Cass Square? Because there seem to be all these ad hoc things happening at Cass Square, like fences, extensions to play skate parks and bits and pieces, tree planting. And trees properly, all this, which I think is great, it's great, but having a master plan, because someone goes and plants a tree there and next thing we're digging it up to put a skate park, it's quite.
And I think that was why the basketball court got brought to us originally, it's in the LTP, and was to be part of that plan, so it wasn't straight out of them saying, hey, can we have this done for us? But it was more, can this be considered, can we reserve a place for it, and we will continue to work towards that.
So how do we progress that master planning?
So there's some progress at the moment.
It's happening. Right.
Have they got basketball facilities?
Well, private, you have to pay to access them. Oh, outside, yes.
Well, no, there's just indoor courts and stuff, but there's basketball.
There is, but whether the public are welcome to
I
have
think they're
access,
welcome outside
potentially
school hours.
a discussion we can have with the school.
So that's only available outside school hours for the wider community. I think it's
But it's an ongoing conversation, obviously it needs to be had with all parties and see what we can develop and what we can use and push to create something out of it. Thank you for that. I will just add on to the Otira toilets, the opening of them is on December the 10th at 1:30 at Otira. Diane Godburns has sent out a program for that now. I see she's requesting your presence there. Yeah. So, yeah, if anybody wants to put that in their diaries.
On with the first flush.
I'm unlocking it, you can push the button.
It's great to see that there is a CBD plan as well, but
For Rosier?
no. Like a working group being formed.
Sorry. Sorry, Paul.
Your wish, a few things. Firstly, the unsuccessful with the lottery application for the museum. What does that mean for the museum project? Because it was leaning quite heavily on securing some, in the hope of securing some external funding.
Okay, Heidi Madrick, it doesn't mean anything. The budget that has been set wasn't reliant on that lotteries funding. If we'd been successful in getting that lotteries funding, we would offset the budget with that funding. So in terms of where the project's tracking at the moment, it's all tracking to the budget numbers you've seen.
Yes, my understanding was that what wasn't to reimburse that project, as such, it was some more bells and whistles.
Well, the wording that I'd said was it was to offset, but I guess that could have been a decision that the council could have made in terms of additional bells and whistles.
Regarding the CBD master planning that is underway with the staff, might I suggest that given the debacle that we had over Breville Street, that this is not left solely with staff. This should involve councillors and should involve Love Hokitika or the Enterprise Hokitika or Destination, sorry, whatever they call themselves now. Yeah, should that be involve a whole collective rather than the staff, because that's what happened last time and got us into all sorts of pickle.
Through the chair, I'd have to say that was actually voted on by councillors to proceed. It wasn't necessarily led by staff. It was actually voted through to proceed.
I think the point that Paul's making is the fact that we need to be involved with that as opposed to it just being a report that comes to council by staff to be sanctioned.
Yeah.
So that we can assure we've got that wider CBD involvement as well, so we get it right.
What's the purpose of the master plan?
To ensure we don't have ad hoc one-way streets, signage, movement of traffic or anything else, to ensure we've got a fixed plan that everything feeds off going forward. We've got a 30k restriction here, we've got where do we park the camper vans, the buses and everything else. We need to do it once and get it right and have a master plan so that everything feeds off that. Otherwise we'll have ad hoc plans and controls going on.
These things don't just spontaneously change,
No.
Streets don't just spontaneously change.
No, but if you suddenly say, I want to put buses here or camper vans there, then that's it. But is it the right place for it? We had that with the one-way street, regardless of the outcome and who was for and who was against, it's there. And it created a lot of angst and it still is. It's just a matter of doing things the right way and getting the right result that just a bit of
engagement.
Yes. Yep. That's good, thank you.
There is simply taking down the signs on the your issue. Simply take down the signs and we can undo that one.
Yep.
On a couple of points I had, please. 10.1 Carnegie Building. The building work is progressing. The new window covers have been ordered and been installed during November, as well as painting. I thought we were told that there was an issue with the integrity of the window cavities themselves. There were problems with the wooden frames, but now they've been covered over.
Yes, I probably would want to
defer to perhaps Earl on that.
Um,
At the moment, those cover under temporary. So that makes it temporary and it's supposed to be.
So, okay. So when you say temporary, is that to get them in place for Kurapanama?
Yes.
And so they'll be, when Kurapanama comes out in the end of April, then we'll fix the,
Yeah, we'll assess where we're going forward from there.
has there been any assessment of cost of that?
Not right knowledge of right now.
Potentially quite costly, isn't it, for heritage frames like that, window frames, when we've already spent an awful lot of money on that building. And the windows somehow weren't done at the same time. I'm not blaming you, I'm just like,
I think with that we actually need to go back to what the direction of council was with that, because I had a feeling that the windows were removed from the budget. But I'd like to see confirmation of that, because that's something that can push this budget way over again. And we did say at that time that there was no wiggle room in the budget. So if we could just have confirmation of what that end result was.
Through the chair, we confirm that the budget for the works, physical works, is completed. It's just a matter of now they have to make the fit out.
Yeah, but that's the
There's
budget.
no extension to the.
No, but that's the budget that we're talking about, that we cut it back, and there was very tight restrictions around what was going to be done, and I know there's a couple of things that have already been done that weren't to have been done, as in the covering up of the fireplace, so that windows was definitely on that discussion. So I just want to have confirmation that something's not been done that wasn't sanctioned to be done, which is either going to take money away from other completion points within the museum, or push us over the budget. Because we are not going to go over that budget.
I'll get that confirmed.
Thank you.
through your worship, I think in relation to the windows, the original plan had been to cover over all the windows.
Yeah,
capped,
that's right.
and that's what we took out of the budget.
Yep.
We took all that out.
Yes, but then if there's a replacement as in another concept for that,
Yes,
then that's not factored in.
Yes, then they came back and they said, oh, some of those window frames are rotted or whatever. And well, that's was the surprise.
Yes, but I don't think the actual cost of that is factored in. I could be
I
wrong.
think you're right.
Yeah, that's what worries me.
I could add a comment to that. I know that Kurapanami required the windows coverings on that, but that has been included in the current figures. The covering of those windows has not cost the project any more money. That's issue. concern.
No. No, the concern is how much it's going to cost when once these temporary coverings come off and we go back to address the problem with the window frames themselves. And to fix them then. The heritage window frames, I don't think it would take a great guess that this will be rather expensive. But, the plan previously was to cover all of those windows and have the walls flush. And that's what we took out of the thing, and just to cover the windows in the meantime.
No, if you can check that and read it, it would be great. Appreciate that. Thanks, Andrew. Yes.
Just finally, from me, it talks about the community engagement program regarding the Racecourse subdivision development. When are we going to disclose fully to the public what the deal actually is?
The deal is in the financial.
The deal that sits behind the whole development that hasn't been brought out to the public.
I think that's the next. There's some elements that we can't divulge because of a commercial sensitivity, but as far as the next presentation to the community, that is actually the planning. There's a bit of financial in there, but as far as a lot of that commercial information, we cannot share. Yeah.
Through the chair, some of it was actually divulged at the recent
Yes,
meeting
as much as what could
by the people doing the development.
Yes.
But it was sort of slipped in there, I guess. It wasn't announced as such, so I don't think we need to let people know.
What they're planning on is, and I think it's going to be very early in the new year, is that we put something together to put out to the wider community that will have as much information as can be released, and there'll be quite a bit of detail in there.
think the sooner the better, because there's been a lot of commentary on either side of this debate, and we just need full transparency on this, and just disclose the whole thing in one hit. I'm not sure about waiting until
Anything that isn't confidential will be disclosed.
Yes, anything that's costing the council,
Yes.
ought to be disclosed.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure, and that has been to date, because it's only affects the funding, the cost for funding for the infrastructure and what we were granted from Wellington.
I
Well,
think that was discussed actually at the community meeting, what the
Yes,
figure was, and no one
yes.
could say.
Everybody
raised
knows what the
that
figure was
I
that we
think
got
so.
through the fund. Everybody knows that
Yeah,
figure.
but the cost to date for council,
Yes, right.
what it's cost us to date.
Yeah.
Which is something that we were going to go back with, and as far as I'm aware, that hasn't happened.
What has consultants?
And what was claimable back from, 'cause a lot of that, some of that was claimable back from
Yep, that's right.
the funder.
On that topic, it was also mentioned there about the requirement for affordable housing seems to have been taken off, been removed.
What, the affordable housing being put there?
Yep, to the requirement that the cost of the houses, we know come up for sale. Originally, that was going to have, there hadn't been so many affordable housing.
And so it's,
No, we
No, I heard
didn't.
that at that meeting, one of the meetings, it was mentioned that that requirement has been taken off the table.
The developer told us that they renegotiated.
there's still affordable housing as a component there. I was at a presentation with them week before last. And there's several discussions they've got going on at the moment as far as other opportunities that they are coaxing to have put there. But as far as affordable housing, that is still part of the component. There's also an area which will be more accommodating people wanting to downsize. But as far as
So
affordable,
that's still as it was when we initially agreed to
yes, it
it.
is actually, because the affordable housing they're referring to is more along your pensioner line of housing, and that is not in there.
I mean, it's,
I just think
Affordable
there's,
housing is that 450 through to 550 component, which is certainly in there.
I just think from the public Joe Blogs on the street point of view, there's not a lot of clarity around this
No.
out there. I think we need to go out, like Alistair said at the meeting, with a document, one page saying, this is what we've spent, this is where the money's come from, this is where it's going, this is how it looks. Project timeline, simple.
And
So
that's what
people
they're
actually
working on
really
doing at the
understand.
moment.
And keeping it as simple as possible, so it's
Absolutely.
black and white.
So when you say they are working on Cullen, do you mean the developers?
The developers, because it's got to be, they've got to approve what's gone out. It's not for us to say what they're doing, it's for them to say what they're
So
doing.
it's for us to say what costs we had.
It is for that. It's two different things. Cost is one thing, what's being developed is another.
Yes, so we work with the developers
Exactly,
to
it's not
develop
the
something
same
to put
chain.
out.
We're working with them on that. It's not for us to put out something on their behalf of what they're creating. It's not for them to do our component.
So that
It's combined.
that information will be put together.
Yes.
And then go out.
And it was agreed on with the last meeting we had.
And what format?
Through the chair,
Yes.
this is also in conjunction with Kanoa, so, and they have very strong
Yes.
opinions on regulations around communication.
Yes.
A little bit.
So what format are we looking at putting that information out? And as suggested at the meeting, will it go out to the rates? Views, will it go out by email, will it go out by social media, will it be in the paper?
Well, I don't think we've actually got to that point of it, because as Earl just said, it's got to go through Kanoa for sign off as well, and they quite often dictate how it's going to be managed as well, or they want to manage it themselves. It's going to happen.
I think we need to
That's
instruct
what I
the
had to
staff
say.
here to go away and work on that, come back, or put it out. Something needs to happen.
I mean, there's a few different cooks stirring this broth, so it's going to be pretty hard to get everyone to agree.
So it's a matter of us working with the developers to agree on a content, and then get that to Kanoa for their sign off, and then it can go out. That's the basic process.
And you have to prove anything that goes out.
We did have the concept of a media release, which has sort of gone back and forth a few times, but if you think that's the most appropriate way of actually getting something out in the public domain,
then happy to do that, of course.
Something visual.
One
No,
page,
no, in
visual
simple.
actually.
You can just say the approved media release.
Yep. No, we can sort of aim to get that out for Christmas, and apologies, because I mean, I've been following that through until the last 4 weeks.
So before Christmas, we could hope to get that out. Sorry? Yes, I mean, with messages.
That would be the intention, but it may not be, because as I say, we've got to work with Canoa and the developers too, so.
Through the chair, this is still highly confidential business information that we can't release, so can't rush releasing dollar figures.
But there will be some information that can be released, that could go out before Christmas, and it can be, you know, step one, whatever.
I think we need to acknowledge, if we are going out before Christmas, we need to acknowledge the points that it was, we can't disseminate, and we are not disseminating because of the agreement with Canoa or whatever reason, and acknowledgement of that in that document, so it's clear that we aren't given half information, because otherwise that's the opinion
Yep,
of
no,
those outside these four walls.
no, we'll have a conversation with the relevant parties.
Through the chair, so at some point that information about the value of the land sale does have to come out, because we will be saying, this is the pool of money we've got to work with for the development on the other side. So there is a time when people will know,
Yes.
Yes,
but
that is dependent on, as we say, the legal process and due diligence and what
Through the
we're allowed
chair,
to
the developer's still working through with building companies on negotiating building contracts, so it's a little bit sensitive.
So, a budget with a particular formula that's used.
Yeah, and an arbitrary made up criteria as well, it's not,
Potentially, but it was still given the same range.
some people, $600,000 is affordable,
Right.
some people $300,000.
So that's not, that's not.
That's a government figure.
Yeah, I know.
And we're now off the topic of the CS report, if we can just go back to the CS report, the content. Is there any other points that want to be raised from the report, Jane?
One more on the race course that talks about engagement meetings will be held in the new year. Just want to point out that consultants that run these can be very expensive. There's been a lot of work already done on it, so we need to look at what's already been done before we employ the consultants to do more on it.
We did do the last one,
Otherwise, we just waste your money. Yeah.
point noted, but as I say, the last one was done without them, and
I
that's
think the
the
plan
intention.
going forward is for Marcus to lead.
Marcus has been leading our side of that as well.
Right,
Sorry, one more thing, through the chair, sorry to jump back to the CBD master planning, but Helen, the mayor mentioned car parking and things like that. My understanding was there was also a car parking strategy being worked on. Can we have an update on where that's at? Because it, in my opinion, seems to have fallen off the radar as well.
We can bring that back to future meetings.
should it be included in the CBD plan, though?
Well, I just don't know if you've got these two things
Through the
happening.
chair, to be, through the chair, they're going to be developed together.
Thank you.
Regarding the CBD plan, I think of relevance to that also is the Cycling and Walking Committee that have had discussions around this before. Now that appears to have now been disbanded, I think that group did have some valuable input potentially for that CBD plan. So I'd like to see what we can do about having that back on the table. I don't know if it's justified disbanding.
Well, the reason it was disbanded was because originally it was set up to be representing the West Coast Wilderness Trail, and then it got expanded out to bring in generally cycling through that around the city. We have a wilderness trail that is costing the ratepayers a lot in subsidisation. It needs to be have a lot more focus to see what can be done as far as understanding the business model that it should have, which it currently doesn't have. So my view was to separate the two out. The Wilderness Trail has to take priority because the ratepayers are subsidising that extensively, and we need to get that into a business unit of its own, where we understand what costs there are, what asset replacements there are, where the issues are, what we can afford to do, where we can generate funding from. So we've had a meeting with the trust, and Councillor Davis was present for that, while we look at what we've got where the shortfalls are, and the next meeting we're bringing in other stakeholders for discussion so that they understand, because at the moment, none of the stakeholders support the cycle trial by way of funding. So we've got to look at how we can introduce funding from different angles. So that's why I've separated them out, because that must take priority, because we've got to be responsible to the ratepayers on what they're subsidising. So the eyesights have been managed in a different sense. The cycle trial is now being managed in a different sense to see if we can turn them around and make them into functioning business units. The walking and cycling committee will come back onto the table in the new year, and that will be focused on that and not merge into the wilderness trail.
I totally understand that we need to focus on the wilderness trail, but I don't think it should be at the expense of the walking and
Well,
cycling.
that was the decision I made at the time to get the wilderness trail onto the table, Jane, because I saw that as a priority. And as I said to you at the time, the cycle walking trail can come back in the new year, because there's not a lot of time between now and the end of this year. And we'll formulate that again, and that can do what it's designed to do, which is focusing on just that.
But maybe we could get some information along those lines out to the people that have been on the committee.
Well, I did give that indication to them, so, and I have had that discussion with Inga. And I do rely on those committees to get that word out and disseminate it out through their groups. I can't be communicating with everybody. And councillors can also do the same by assisting with that.
So just, yeah, that's great, absolutely, if we know that that's the intention is for it to start up again in the new year.
Well, that was the message I conveyed to you and Inga earlier on.
But we can pass that on.
And through your worship, as a member of the committee or formal committee, I commend the decision. I think when I first went onto that committee, it was focused on the wilderness trail. And so it really had purpose. And then it was the previous chief executive deciding it was time to broaden that. And it broadened the membership and broadened, well, it didn't really have a focus. And it lost purpose and lost its way. So I think it was a good call.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Councillor Pearson.
Through the mayor via the CEO straight to Earl. Master planning in Hokitika, great, good for Hokitika. Have we got any plans to connect with the Southern Ward townships, Range Joseph in particular, who are, dare I say, in part screaming out for this, otherwise they're going to be doing ad hoc business by business bits and pieces as they can?
We haven't got that directly on the table at the moment. I think it's probably something.
Could we add that to the 2025 schedules?
To be fair, I'd rather like to focus on one place at a time and out the smaller areas, because it's taken a long time to try and get this sorted out. We want to make sure that we get that correct first, and then hopefully lessons learned from that we can apply to other areas.
As long as they're not forgotten about completely, that would be great.
We can put that on our list of to-dos and make sure that's followed through. So we'll note it. It's very easy to forget our southern components.
We don't have unlimited resources.
Yeah.
Oh, 100% accept that, but
Yeah.
at the point that we're going to have issues, I think it's other more secure its turn as well.
Yep.
And we can learn from one for the next, so that will help.
Any further questions for firstly regarding the quarterly report? So with that, the resolution is that we received the quarterly report from the acting CE, acting chief executive. Do I have a move and receive of these? Councillor Casson, Councillor Baird, thank you very much. All in favour? Carried. Thank you, Leslie, for that.
Thanks, Eric.
Carl, welcome to the room. First up is the proposed road name at Jackson's. Thank you very much. And apologies for the heat, we're all starting to buckle. Emma's even hot where she is, she's peeling off the jacket. Oh, she's got gloves on.
So, yes, I'll take the report as read, and open for any questions or feedback. So really it's a minor.
I'm really interested in what we settle with here.
Probably won't be interested in my comment. Could I suggest that we bring this back just as a little bit more conversation?
Yes, and the reason for more conversation? You think it needs a little bit more background? Right. Right. So the name suggestions we've got here, that you weren't consulted.
Well, it's in Matty Wildlife already, but I mean, personally, I just would like to.
Not another month.
Offline conversation.
Right, okay, that's fine. Is there any reason why we can't roll this back to next month?
Not really. We are waiting on being able to allocate an address to the property in this road. So it does make it a little bit challenging not having one. I understand it's changing hands at the moment.
Can I ask how long they've gone without having a name to their property?
Well, it's never had a name, and it only came up when a new person moved in and took up residence and required an address. But at this stage, it's been waiting for a wee while now.
Yeah. So if it's not hindering their ability to receive rates invoices and anybody else's invoices another month is not going to, other than the fact that they, and I'm sure actually having the right name to their street would be of value to them, so.
There was a aside from that, from the model name,
To be honest, it's not what
sorry, chaos over here. Of course, there would be no Jacksons if it wasn't for the Jackson family.
Yes.
And that maybe we should go back to the likes of Colin Jackson and just ask him, I mean, if it was the ancestor, for instance, the pioneer of Jackson, Andrew Jackson, whatever his name is, I don't think his name is, but, Andrew Jackson Lane or something like that. Yeah.
So I quite like ringing Jopo. Is it contentious? Righto, okay, so obviously we need to be very careful with the names and the background to them.
Can I just clarify, is someone waiting to get utilities hooked up to a property at all, or not?
No, there's a caravan on the site at the moment, so it's really just for location purposes. If there was an emergency, that's the nearest. There is a property in front of it that's got a number on the state highway, so it can be.
The harsh reality of it, if they come back to the next meeting, is 19 days for the December meeting if that conversation with them. And it's not going to be, I mean, if they come back in December, we've got 19 days to wait to make this decision.
Yes,
That's not an issue to me.
No, okay.
You did right if you're not getting no power.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's easy to trivialise, but if someone...
We're not trivialising.
No, I'm just saying,
something.
if you've got someone trying to dispatch an ambulance or something like that and they can't find a rapid number or something like that, it can actually be a reasonably serious situation.
In this three worship, in this context, there are some reasonably significant markers for that location, one being the Jackson's Hotel. So it wouldn't be difficult to find if it needed to be found.
I'm just having an experience with St John's recently, I'm just saying it's not...
No, that's noted. Yep, okay, and GPSing is the best way you can go for having
You've got
that.
someone on the other end of the phone up in Auckland, I can tell you, it doesn't always go the way
If you've got GPS coordinates, I can guarantee you'll get results. GPS coordinates, you can't fail with a
Well, I
helicopter.
would disagree based on personal experience for life.
Mr. Greenbush, so again, if I can just suggest that Carl perhaps goes back and it'd be nice to contact Colin Jackson. He's of the original Jacksons from Jacksons and it's given the opportunity.
Very fine. And 19 days isn't going to put us back a lot, is it, really, with this? I mean, we want to get it right, we've got to be respectful to what we're doing. Yeah. So you happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the sentiment around the table? Is everybody happy that we resolve to bring this back to the table for December's meeting? Happy to move. Moved by Councillor Bevan, sorry. Seconded. Councillor, Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Davidson. Sorry, everybody. Councillor Davidson. All in favour? Aye. Carried. Thank you. So we'll bring that back to December's meeting. Thank you, Carl, for that. Next one is transportation. Carl, the floor is yours again.
Yeah, so this one really is just an update on where landed with the improved funding compared to what we asked for, what was decided upon by yourselves, and what the NZTA have ended with providing us. So I'll take that report as read. Again, there's a few charts in there that tell the story relatively well.
Councillor Pearson.
Carl, the first of the graphs, top of page 52 of the agenda, minor events is shown as no allocation of funding. Keen on some comments around that because we only have to cast our mind back less than 3 weeks to probably a major event, but you know, we're guaranteed to have another minor event in the next financial year because we've got a track record for having them. Is that, yeah?
So yes, absolutely correct, and good on you for spotting it. We did request 150,000 off the top of my head. We refined that down to, well, kept it initially, sorry, we looked at 200,000, we refined that down to 150,000. What was allocated by NZTA, and this was reflected in all 3 Coast RCAs and some others around the country, is nothing was attributed to that. It was all factored into other allocations, and the requirement on us was we needed to find funding in those other allocations to redistribute to create what we needed. Not ideal. So what we have done is shifted some small amounts from other activities within that same class to create that funding ability. What that means going forward, I don't know quite yet. Hopefully we don't have much of a need to use it.
Yeah, hopefully, but
that's one of those things that
it's a high risk. So supplementary to that, are they then going to, an event happens, are they going to pick it up with their reactive fund, which seems to be an open checkbook when something goes wrong, as opposed to funding?
So just those minor events are only for events that are less than $100,000 in size or don't qualify for emergency works funding. There was some rule changes in that very recently. In past, we've been able to get approved emergency works funding for plus $100,000 events when the event's been a 1 in 2 or 1 in 1 year return. The return size on events is actually a lot higher than that. It's actually closer to 1 in 10 or 1 in 20. So that's quite a bit bigger event. But we have been fortunate in getting funding for lesser size events just because it's been a higher dollar value. In speaking with our investment advisor today, I was told that there have been a number of events nationally where they've had to turn down funding because it was a smaller event that didn't qualify under that size. So that makes it very challenging, very difficult. If it doesn't qualify for funding, then it has to come out of our own subsidised funding, which is the minor events, or we need to find some other money somewhere else. Yeah, that's the challenge that we're faced with. We're lucky in that the recent event that we had that closed the Bay Road was, well, we were lucky we didn't get as more damage, but it was a significant event, greater than the 1 in 250 year event. So that's big.
Have we or the other councils that have been declined for that funding given collective or individual feedback on that? So running rudimentary numbers, a $90,000 minor event is worth $13.28 per each of our rateable units in our district, which on face value might not sound like a lot, but compared with everything else currently rated for and coming down the pipes in the next 10 years for our rateable district is just another thing. Like, what else can we do about that? I don't expect you to have a magic answer, but I mean, that's suboptimal to me.
Yeah, you're right. Really all we can do is try and factor it into our budget allocations next time round. There might be some funding that we may be able to put aside as a reserve for this sort of activity, rather than specifically target something at the time. I don't have the answer.
And in the short term, we fund these events up to $99,500, and that comes at the expense of the rest of our running budget. So there's resale that's not happening, or footpath not being maintained, and
That's correct.
we've got a level of
If
services
we go
charge.
over on that, then we have to come under on something else. That's the reality of it. There are other councils that are facing that same thing as well. If they go over in one activity, they have to come under in another one. It's that balance.
I would say thank you, but
Going through worship the budget for structures replacement going forward into 2020. 26, 27 is pretty frightening. Basically vanishes.
Yeah, so component replacements is major structural works on any of our structures. That could be repainting, redecking, concrete spalling, repair works as well. That's
Pretty fundamental stuff.
Activities. There is quite an amount of work that we need to get through, and that's a result of up-to-date inspection routines and programming that's identifying the work in a better way for us. Well, and it's better that it's identifying it, but it's not better that it's more. But that's a hang-up of previous lack of funding. So that's why we've increased that activity.
That's great, but I'm looking at the figure in the graph here for 2026, 27.
First
Limited operations.
Page 53.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that, and that's reflective of what we've got coming up. Again, we do have a lot of stuff that we need to target early on in things, but there wasn't anything beyond that we identified yet. But it's likely there'll be more coming in next NR2P. Further on that.
Very much as sure as night follows day, isn't it? There'll be.
Well, it will be. It will be.
I mean, because it's been such a, today, every other year it's been fairly substantial, and then drops away to nothing.
That's the figure we've had from the people that have been doing the work on that. That's funds.
Any further questions for Carl on the transportation funding report? No. So the resolution is that the report be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Glegg, Councillor Neal, all in favour? Approved. Thank you very much for that one. And you can just stay there and move on to the Hokitika Gorge Lower Suspension Bridge Progress Report, please.
Yeah, again, I'll take the report as read. Open for questions.
Councillor Casson.
February 28th, 2025, how confident are we in lieu of everything that's happened? It's still a report. Are we...
At this stage, that still stands. Really is going to be subject to what weather events, if any, we have. Hopefully we have no more. We were lucky that the weather event we did have that caused the slip damage didn't cause us any delays bringing damage to the contracted materials and equipment. At this stage, that's still tracking on target.
I look forward to our late summer reopening.
Any further questions on the Swing Bridge, the suspension bridge? Well, first then I'll go to.
So we've just been through the transportation budget and we've heard what projects that are expected going forward? So what is the forward projections for maintenance of this bridge?
They're very small at this stage. The materials that are being used are quite long-lived. So other than routine inspections, we're not anticipating any significant large maintenance costs ongoing. Other than maybe the occasional replacement of some brick material for tread on deck. But the pump systems are long-lived as well. So it's just really a section.
What's the life of the new bridge?
The life of the new bridge, I think, is close to 100 years, but there are some components that will need to be replaced in about 50 years.
A lot of that information was in a previous report that came.
Yeah, obviously.
And has anyone from DOC had any yes, no, maybe answer it all on when they will take ownership of the bridge?
Regarding ownership, no, we don't have any answers on that at this point.
Is there any expectation as to when we may get an answer?
I don't know. That was sort of with the BCE to follow up. I haven't heard anything since. So.
The action list says in the June budget it was declined, so whether or not that's another annual cycle to be looked at or not, that's really a conversation that needs to be had.
So we're expecting to be the custodian of that capital in perpetuity at this stage?
Through the chair, on the day we voted, we had a verbal agreement with DOC that they were going to take it over, and that's why we voted this way. So, how can we sit by that?
I don't know whether we had word for word agreement that they were going to take it over.
I certainly understood that they were.
It's an understanding, I think that, that DOC would, take over that bridge.
It was a wink and a nod, wasn't it? It was a wink and a nod from the previous.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was, you're right.
DOC actually said at this table that they'd take over before we voted.
In an open council meeting?
Yeah, right there, it was there.
Check the minutes.
It just makes, it makes sense that the department look after that, bridge. They look after all the other structures on that track, the track itself. So,
Through your worship, I think what happened in between times was, October, was it last year, we changed government. And as a result, the Te Papa has been severely constrained in the budget. I think it's as simple as that. It comes down to dollars and cents and department conservation. And so what was looked like a sensible takeover from Department of Conservation early in 2023, by the end of 2023, was looking quite superfluous.
If we make commitments in one council, they stand for the following council, don't they?
I don't think we have any written documentation saying we will take ownership of that bridge.
No.
Mark Davis was quite circumspect.
Yes, he was. Yes. So what we'll do is go through, find that meeting, find those minutes and see exactly what was discussed and the content of that wording and what we moved on, etc. And then we'll follow that up with DOC from that point on. Because we do need to have some structure there going forward.
ASAP to.
Yes.
I think the fact that the current bridge that's there, we have owned all this time anyway. The new one we're going to own now, by the look of it, it's really not, I mean, it would be nice to get rid of it, yes, it makes sense, but at the end of the day, the important thing is having a bridge there that's open to the public one way or another, in my opinion.
We may have voted differently though.
Yeah, so we'll go back and find those minutes.
Replacement of us, thought that we were going to.
Exactly.
And I remember that being quite the topic at the time, wasn't it? Yes, yeah. So we'll go back through and find those minutes and see exactly what the detail was, and then we'll follow it through from there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And DOC, they look after all the other bridges
Does that make sense?
Does make a lot of sense. So we'll see what we can coax out of them, but the main thing is first that we track that information, see that we're on the right side.
True worship, but then what? I mean, it's not as if we can strong arm DOC.
No, it isn't, but we can have further conversations with them saying this is what the original conversation was. I mean, I've just been talking to them about Hokapohai Road, and it's surprising what you can tweak out that from nothing to actually covering the cost of reinstating a road. So, you know, there's conversations to be had, and if we don't try, we don't know. But we can make our point very, very clear to them that if there is a change in their circumstances, that is something that we...
There is such thing as good faith as well.
Because the other thing we have to talk about with them at some stage is the car park up there, because that was actually up for discussion when I was on council the time before last, wasn't it, Jane? We were talking about the car park there and where that was going.
So the list of dock sites that they're going to be open to charging for access to, is the Hoax Gorge on that list?
No. Not at this stage, but I have asked that they consider that for the next round. Because to me, I was quite surprised it wasn't on there.
No, it's not their car park.
There's not their car park,
not
no,
their
it's
car
no
park
car
to be
park, but it's,
Oh, we can
they
charge
can't
the car
car park or.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, or the holiday periods. But that's something that we've got to work on too with all those things. We've got to be aware of what's happening around the place, and we've got to make sure we're right in there amongst everybody else with these opportunities. Because otherwise we just get pushed to the background. So,
We haven't paid for any bridges, have we?
no.
Oh, well, we could just simply not replace it.
Don't forget where the fund.
Well, I think we've let the contract to do it, so I think we've.
And Cameron's occurred on.
Yeah, well,
Site can be built, so it's here for late summer.
Maybe,
The funding was pretty generous.
Yes, it was. Right, anything further for Carl on the Swing Bridge report? Anything further for Carl? No? And then can I move from second to please so that we can resolve the report we received?
I'll move it very soon.
I'll take Councillor Manera and Councillor Phelps. Thank you very much. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Carl, very much for that. Greatly appreciated. Next up is the Rolleston Street stormwater remediation urgent work unbudgeted expenditure approval. Thank you, Earl.
Councillors, your worship, I'll take the report as read and open for questions.
Where do we start?
There's no responsible way to not just do it as well, is that my understanding, reading the report.
Right. Sorry, Steve.
For your worship, so what discussions have we had with Geely and Kiwi Rail about
We've
contracts?
had discussions with Kiwi Rail regarding the weight loadings on that line, and they're advising us that it's not over, the wagons that are currently on there are not over the weight limiting, but.
So why has the pipe collapsed?
Various factors, age of the pipes, the strength of the walls on the pipes. It could be a weight loading issue. What I need to investigate further is find out the new liquid containers that they're taking on there, what weight loadings I've got, because that's the only thing that's sort of.
So how long is it going to take to get that information?
Find out if they actually weigh them, they must have a liquid component and all that sort of stuff.
I think there's a community kind of argument that Kiwi Rail and GE should contribute to this. Why should ratepayers once again be slam dunk with it?
I have to say, Councillor, I agree, but at this stage, I just need to make sure that I'm trying.
Yes.
Your worship would be a bit like what's if it happened to run underneath the Fitzherbert Street. We can't be asking the ZTO.
No, but I think this is a little bit different because it's going to be exacerbating the pressure and the weight load of what's going over it. So it's a constant, but it's also a weakening or damaging process over a long period of time. So I would have thought asking them to contribute in some way would have been probably appropriate to try.
there was no harm in asking.
No.
But has this problem exacerbated the flooding?
Not at this stage, no. The Livingston section was up for replacement, which is why we're not asking for it. It's in the current budget, it's a replacement in that area, because we realise that is in poor condition. The Rolleston Street one was something that was unaware to us until we actually was fortunate, I suppose, that we were undertaking inspections with regard to the flood wall, and we discovered a hole beside the track there and started to do some work.
So if it's not repaired and it collapses, does that have impacts for the rail structure above it? So it would definitely be in the interest to show some interest.
Oh, most definitely.
We could just defer and see what happens.
Okay.
Yes,
No.
no, because it's
Unfortunately, as much as that might be a temptation, you've got a health and safety risk, and you've also got our biggest industry in town at risk of not being able to
Taking the light from the market.
It's our infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
That is, we technically own it, and, sorry, pardon my ignorance, but the railway line that sits above it is not something that we don't rate. Do we rate rail infrastructure, and roads that come above our infrastructure, does the council do that? So,
Yeah, we just got to fix it. It's more important than swimming bridges.
Well, the discussions and negotiations will continue very closely to what we're doing in the Voice Council.
How do we go about ensuring it doesn't happen again? Are there pipes we can put in the ground?
Yes, the pipelines that are done will be upgraded to a C-class pipe, which is a heavy wall, we'll probably concrete the case there over the top as well,
Which will hold the weight of whatever one of those shiny silver tanks full of whatever's going out to Middleton.
I mean, the assets that are in there are reasonably old, they're not new. And, you know, maybe at the time they should have been put in a bit heavier, but it's not where we are right now.
Have we got any other points of weakness that are shown up from any internal investigations?
No legislation.
At this stage, but it's a possibility down the track.
Very possible.
Go to Paul first, because he had his hand up first, then I'll go to you.
I'll write this on there.
Through which, where do we magic up 300 grand?
We have to defer project, we've got some projects that we can defer and utilize based on. Well, it doesn't help with expenditure in the long run, but it will help this time.
It would be good to know what those projects are that would have been deferred. Very much so. Oh, next month.
Yeah. Not right now.
We've got the projects that are grouped in the same category. We have programmed and have been programmed for a while and we can approve it for a year or so.
It's not like the flood remediation project, no?
You question, don't you?
Yeah. Sorry, I was Don's blind faces. I do have a question through the chair. How many other pipes do we have of this nature running under the railway line, and do we know what condition they're in?
Yes, we do. There's potentially, I think, 7 along that line. Some of them are smaller. Some of them are the smaller they are, the deeper they are, the less the greater the impact by the rail. We have had them, they have been inspected and have been found to be in good condition at the moment. It's part of what the regional council did, they ran along.
My question is related to the previous two, but how did it stick to this point? Was this just through routine monitoring that this came up? Or?
No, it was because we knew that the Livingston Street section needed replacement.
Right.
And we knew that's programmed to get done. The Rolleston Street section, as I said, was identified once we discovered there was a whole lot of some rails, and that was discovered by the people doing, I suppose, asset inspection work prior to the wall going in, and then we had it inspected. So they were like your regional inspections, CCTV camera inspections of those lines as a record of before and after. and it was discovered at that stage that was not good. If you have a look at the pictures, it's not healthy.
That's the case,
we confirm we can get the work done in those 2 days that Kerry Rail have got closure on the 14th and 15th of December.
Yes, yeah.
I hate unbudgeted.
If we don't,
Yeah, we just have to keep going.
I mean, we're looking at 24-hour shifts, so it's not going to, which is why it's quite expensive.
I hate unbudgeted expenditures next as the next person, but happy to move that in the middle of the health and safety disaster and cutting off our biggest employer from the market.
Thank you. Do I have a second motion? Thank you, Councillor Manera. All in favour of the resolution that A, the report be received, and B, that council approve the unbudgeted expenditure required to undertake the urgent remedial works to the stormwater pipeline at the end of Rolleston Street on Gibson Quay under the rail corridor. All in favour? Against? Councillor Bennett, do you want that vote recorded against?
Well, there was option 2. So I'd support option 2.
Just
Kerry.
Yeah, just one thing. How long is it going to take
To do those works?
Yes.
This is about 2 days.
Thank you.
Well, 3 days in total.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Earl, that's brilliant.
Oh, just, excuse me for interjecting. We mentioned the other day about the civil defence emergency that we had the other weekend. I'd just like to extend a thanks to staff that came in their own time and manned the civil defence stations and helped out everyone. So
Yes.
just like
We would not have that without the staff being prepared to get in here and do it at night, and just their gesture and the willingness is unbelievable, because it's long days, long hours, and there's a lot involved with it, and it's very heartening to see their willingness to be in here supporting community members, the width and breadth of Westland.
And partner organisations.
And partner organisations, you're quite correct. Right, so moving on from there, we have the Council Control Organisation Oversight Committee appointments. Oh, she's there. Sorry, Leslie, acting CEO, please. So I still have you down there.
Through the chair, I'll take the report to thread, but the background is that when we had the terms of reference adopted, we had not determined who was going to sit on the committee. The Mayor has now advised who she would like to be on that committee. This report is to approve that. And the Mayor is a given on the committee, as is the Chief Executive.
Any questions on that?
I'd quite like to see another councillor on the out, not myself, but strong business. I need 2 councillors to be in the custody.
This is relying very heavily on the governance perspective of the independent chair. This committee is not there to, this committee is there to be the intermediary between the board and council, so everything will be brought back to full council for discussion and advisements going forward. So part of the reasoning of it being a very tight committee is that I'm very aware that things can turn into talk fest as opposed to constructive progress. The new chair is, I think, going to be superb in the position, and they will be working directly with the boards that we have currently and those chairs.
This committee has no delegation, so having a small board is good practice. The delegation is with council, so there's no decision making, there's just recommendations, which would come back to council through the chair, the independent chair of that board.
A person I'd still like to see someone with business experience on as well. I've got Donna, I've got Stephen, lots of business. Well, I encourage you here to
No, we can note your comment. Yeah.
Through the chair, obviously you've got your finger on a independent chair.
Yes, Lucy, do you want to update on that?
Yes, we have made an offer to a chair. That is going through all the statutory referees and police checks, etc. The recruitment was through the IOD. He's a very experienced director of governance and has experience within airports and construction. So both sides of the system.
Thank you.
We'll be very fortunate should that process continue down that pathway and we get who we're trying to get.
How much was that cost?
It's very favourable because we're very aware of the cost. Just because one board's gone doesn't mean you replace the whole cost of that board with anything else that you do. And this gentleman has been very, very willing, is very keen to serve out of, in these sort of areas, and he's very versed with what this position's about and our CCOs, and he sees that as a great opportunity to contribute.
Is he philanthropist?
Is he a philanthropist?
He was
A philanthropist? No, he's
You could ask him about the museum.
You probably could say he is in the way of his, what he put back,
yeah, well, yeah.
his governance experience. Yeah.
Very, very experienced. I think he's another, as with the chair of the Risk and Assurance Committee, we're very lucky.
The other three members of that committee are zero cost to council as well.
Zero addition.
So cost.
Yeah.
As per the authority.
So, with that, and just to note on that too, is that the CE sits on that committee as a right of course. So that's, it doesn't need to be included in that because it's just, it is part of those committees regardless. So with that, is there any further discussion on that? If not, can I have a mover and a seconder please resolve that A, the report be received, B, that council appoint Deputy Mayor Casson and Councillor Verdon to the CCO Oversight Committee, and that council adopt the amended and updated terms of reference for the Council Control Organisation Oversight Committee. Movers, thank you, Councillor Baird. Councillor Davidson, thank you very much. All in favour? Against? Councillor Gillette, and that recorded. And Councillor Neal. All right, thank you. That's passed. Thank you very much, Leslie, for that. Adoption of meeting schedule. Sorry? Oh. Let me just scroll down to it. Adoption of meeting. Do I have to send that there?
Yeah.
Adoption of meeting schedule. I'll take the report as read. Has everybody viewed the schedule? Now, the OPEX and workshops, we have jumped. Oh, sorry, I didn't know whether that was.
That's the language for air conditioning, please.
Oh, sorry. I just want to explain a couple of things and then we'll throw it up to the floor. As the meeting dates for the OPEX and CAPEX, they were together, but we spread them out to try and lighten the load on attendees. But time, we've got to allow time to do any more work should we require it, have time to ask any more questions or clarification on either work that we're doing. And I mean, this long-term plan, there's a lot involved with it. There's a lot to get our heads around and focus on with this. So we've got to have time for consultation and then bring things back for adoption. So, yeah, questions, please. Paul.
Your worship, just regarding April, why council meeting on the Thursday before Easter rather than the Thursday before Anzac Day?
The decision was made around staff and councillors taking those 3 days off to get that magic 8 or 9 that staff report on at the start of every year around public holidays to ensure that we've got a full attendance of the members and as well as staff to report into that meeting.
Because it gives them shorter time to prepare the reports.
It does give a shorter time, but that has, I mean, staff are happy with that. Because the other thing for them, as it is for any of us, to take 3 days, 3 stat days, 3 working days off to get what you get from that combine is highly desired. So, yeah.
Self-employed people get
No, I know, no, we don't, everybody else does, but that's, you know, we've also got to be respectful of this, it's a very significant opportunity, so.
It's too long.
Yes.
I can dream about it.
The lead
Day and
time,
Easter.
the lead time's no difference between November and December meetings as well, so yes, it's pinched by a week, but it's no different to the next 19 days.
Just comment around meetings being moved and things. I think it's hard on busy people, and you know, for me in particular, I have to find someone to actually do my job. Trying to juggle all this, and then all of a sudden the meeting's moved and things have changed. It'd be good to really cement things. I mean, I understand that some things do get moved, but it just seems to be happening. It's a wee bit frustrating. I mean, I can make it work, but it's.
Yeah, but I get that, because I mean, James sometimes struggles with meeting changes sometimes as well, so.
And when you've had something planned for sort of 6 months and then all of a sudden weeks or before it gets moved, you're sort of like, you know.
There's not through issue changes. Fine, that makes sense. It's more service to the regions. It's fine. As long as it wasn't for the likes of the regional council that changed their schedule previously, so that they can go to the races.
No.
Come on, races, good idea.
Every show.
Yeah, so there's a lot of thought and consideration gone into the planning of it, and that's why it's come back to the table. And things happen, things change, and at times things, you know, there is pressure to move things around or introduce new dates in there. But at the moment, this is the structure we've got going forward to next year. And Diane Penny have worked on this quite extensively in conjunction with Leslie and her team as far as council meetings.
Obviously, we will keep these on further schedule if it's all possible. It would just be
And possibly something that may help, Diane, you can, and welcome for you to comment on this, is that perhaps councillors, not their full schedules, but if there's dates that are just not there for them, if we're aware of that, it could potentially help, because I know at times you're sending emails out to everybody saying, we've got these options, but if we've got times or days or mornings or afternoons or something that's definitely up, we can potentially put forward more feasible or doable times and dates for this up, I don't know. So if it's easy for you to put something forward, it could be helpful.
Just the only point to note is that we haven't factored in any of the CCO meetings.
Yes. 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 Schedule. Yep. Or any of the other committees, Wilderness Trail or anything else in there. Yep. But until we get that formulated, we'll have that once we've got that structure in there. Right, so any further discussion required on that report? If not, can I have a move and second to please resolve that the report be received? You move that, and second that, Councillor Cassidy, Councillor Pearson. Thank you. The report's been received. That 2025 scheduled meetings is attached to the agenda be adopted with the following amendments. The Council OPEX workshop change of date to 27 January 2025 and Council CAPEX workshop change of date to 30 January 2025. Moved by Councillors Casson and Burden. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you everybody for that. Hokitika Museum. Marcus, welcome to the table.
Thank you, Councillor. Take that report as read, just seeking entry fee for non-Western residents over the age of 16 to the temporary Kurupanamu exhibition in the museum. It's opening next Wednesday and running through to the 27th of April.
One of you?
Simple question, why? And why change away from what's been approved in the annual plan?
It's simply because the exhibition is costing us money and we're just seeking to recover some of that money.
Through worship, the $25,000 cost to Kurupanamu was included in the budget for museum fit out.
Yes, correct.
So I don't know that there's any need to try to recover I'm aware of Kura Pounamu having travelled the world, and to Paris, and to Beijing, and various other places, and it has been elsewhere in the country, but I'm not aware that it's been charged. And I would hate this to be a place where you go to Kura Pounamu and you study. That is my first comment about it. I don't think it's necessary myself. Also, I mean, $10, that's going to be an awful lot of visitors, in addition to the rest of the residents. They might want to go through it, but it's an awful lot of visitors, isn't it? A couple of, maybe 2,500 paying visitors to come through the doors to recover that expenditure. I don't think that's realistic.
It's a loss of organisation, I think.
Yeah. And if there was to be a charge, a door charge, which I firmly disagree with, then there ought to be exceptions for Pōtuni-Ngoto, not just Western residents. Because Pōtuni-Ngoto, the kaitiaki of this exhibition, and not all Pōtuni-Ngoto live within Western District, and it would be stink if our whānau turn up there to have a look at their taonga and they're told $10, please.
Just a question on that, Paul. Is it disrespectful to charge for a presentation such as this?
In my view, I think it's, yeah.
We had the discussion about, the dawn service versus one in the letter in the day. We'll put that aside because that's not how it's done. So it's important that we do this the right way, and have this discussion and hear your opinion on this, because it's important we get this right.
The current charge in the annual plan is $6. So
that's for the museum.
For the museum, yes. Yeah. So
it's quite different. This is a one-off exhibition of travelling taonga that belong to Pōtuni-Ngoto as kaitiaki, and in my view, it shouldn't be a charge.
Who actually owns the exhibition? From whom are we leasing?
Another exhibition. Yeah.
So,
Pretty worship, the sort of discussions we're having now should have been thrashed out long before it came to council. Why are we discussing the implications of this charge? It should have been all thrashed out, and we should have come ready to be accepted or not. I mean, I don't support it. I don't think it's technically complicated. You're going to have to collect funds at the door. You'll have to set up EFTPOS machines. You'll have to verify eligibility. It's messy. And is it modern? How much money do you get out of it? I think it doesn't apply.
Out of curiosity, how much money do you expect to get out of it in terms of the number of people you expect to buy?
I'd be speculating, I don't know, maybe 1,000 visitors over the course of the exhibition. I would be speculating.
So roughly 10 grand is people that speculate.
Yeah, I guess, possibly.
No, I mean, in terms of people who would actually, to whom this fee would apply.
Yeah. We are setting up, sorry, just to answer the previous questions, we are setting up EFTPOS machines at the moment. So in terms of the collection, there's a mechanism for doing it.
I don't think collecting entry fees is especially complicated undertaking.
Through the Chair, I think it's important to reflect on when the report originally came to council asking for the funding for the 25,000, and we said no, and we were then told by the staff we could actually absorb that into the museum budget, and now to me it seems like maybe pushing the budget and you're trying to recoup some of that. It's completely sort of a bit of a flip-flop in my opinion, and I support Stephen and Paul's comments about this. I mean,
especially underhand, if people don't want to pay, they don't go in.
What's going on in the museum every month, we seem to be talking about it. It would have been good to have known that this was the sort of plan. It just constantly seems to keep changing. I
It's a
don't,
surprise.
yeah.
I suspect staff are doing this because they think that's what we might want. I agree with what Paul has said, and they're happy to vote against it, but I don't think we should be blaming the staff for putting this forward. No.
There's two ways to go for the museum. You either take it out of the ratepayers' hide, or you take it out of the hide of people who are going in there and looking at stuff. And that's entirely up to us to decide which of those two paths we want to take. But if we don't want to charge people to enter and just have it entirely ratepayer funded, that's fine. Choose that path.
We shut the doors.
Just want to clarify, Jane, I wasn't blaming the staff, but it was the staff that came and asked us for the 25,000. And when we said no, the staff stood there in front of us and said, we can actually absorb that $25,000 cost into our current existing budget. So they made that decision to absorb that cost and forego whatever else they were going to spend it on, nice to have, I assume. And now we're back here saying we need to recoup some of this money with a $10 door charge. To me, no, sorry.
Pretty Chair.
Yes.
Let's just open the door to make us realise what the museum's going to cost going forward, the staff costs and everything else. It's another $1 million rate.
That's not what's the discussion today, though. We're discussing this,
That's why
this
there's a need for
component.
us to set up a trust for this.
Yeah.
And that works.
Just finally from me, Your Worship, I think we shouldn't underestimate the mana that Hokitika will gain from having Kurupōnamu here and free admission. People will pour through the doors, visitors, to see this. This is a major exhibition. This is not just some tin pot exhibition that's been put together. It's a major exhibition in the history of New Zealand, and nothing like it since the Māori exhibition of the 1980s. It's big, and and if it's free, that word will soon seep around, and Hokitika will be the beneficiary of it. If you put charge on there, and the number of people that will turn up at the door and walk away, it's just not a good look.
Through the
It's a
chair.
flat white and a muffin, like it's $10. It's next to nothing.
Well, it's a lot of money to some.
Through the chair, would we be happy with donations?
Donations to the museum, I think, that's fine. Just really, sorry, as long as you're not rattling.
No.
$10 donation, please.
Donation box at all. Yes, Councillor Davis.
Yeah, just, pathway you've been great at, Paul, what do they charge to go into that one?
Well, that's a commercial experience.
So how much is it?
That is, no, that is, I don't pay, so, $55,
Yeah, I was going to say 45, but yeah, 55.
No, $55, and there's a West Coasters rate, which is basically half.
If you go to the queues, you can look at $30.
From 47.35, if you look online, it says.
Yeah. All right, so councillors, I'm picking that there's no appetite for the charge.
Just a question of the process. Are we able to bring a report to council to change our annual plan at any stage? If we have other changes, we'd like to see what we will change within a year, or is that process?
It's not really, no, not
So the
today.
process, yeah, obviously.
It's just because it's not a CFD that we were asking to change, that it's in the annual plan or LTP. It was more for the exhibition itself. So there is no charge in there for exhibitions or one-offs like this. So that's why we were able to bring this report here.
Thank you for clarification.
So could I just clarify with councillors, because actually what I hear you saying is actually not one of the options I put forward. So sort of a 4.3 is that there'll be no charge for the Kurupōnamu exhibition.
That option?
No charge.
No charge.
What about the concept of a donation box?
Absolutely.
Any donation?
So will it mean
That
that
needs to come out of the resolution.
doesn't? No, just do it anyway, writing home? All right. So the motion is that the report be received, and point 2 of that is that no charge for entry for the Kurupōnamu exhibition. And
Through the chair, there is a standard entry fee. Are we waiving that as well?
Yes.
So it's going to be no charge. It's a standard entry fee.
It's to the museum, this is just.
It's not the museum.
So are you trying to say there was going to be a standard fee and to get into the building and then a charge to get
Well,
into the
if
exhibition?
you look at the options, the second option was simply that we use the standard entry fee that is in the annual plan of $6, which was the entry fee when the museum was closed. Just in terms of background, I spoke to Leslie and talked about the ability to increase the charge, and the advice was, well, that has to go through the annual planning process. However, maybe there was an option to charge just for the exhibition, but, you know, councillors are very clear that it was free, which is
Why do you charge for it anyway?
So, okay, so the report's back to being received and that council, there will be no charge for entry to the Kunamu exhibition.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to be clear, of course, this is not the museum.
No, this is an exhibition which is totally separate.
Okay.
Yep.
And when it does come to, I know it's not for today, but when it does come to setting the annual plan next year and when the museum is open, I would caution against just lifting that entry cover price.
Well, I think it's a discussion we need to have here with what we're aspiring to do with the museum and a lot of the conversations that Marcus is involved with out in the wider sector at the moment, what he's trying to create there. So I think we'll bring that back at another time and we'll talk about that and settle on a figure going forward that is acceptable and how that be structured, but that'll be done here. Yes, yeah.
But while it might be, as my neighbour says, a flat white and a biscuit, or whatever, it's also a big turn off for visitors and museum staff are sort of that.
Yeah.
The number of people in the museum is open, they came to the counter and turned away and went.
Yeah.
And it'll be their loss. The museum actually will be, the reopening will be well worthwhile visiting. Anyway, it's another conversation.
Thank you for
Might
that.
be the museum's been shut for how long?
Right, so again with that to the original motion, which is that the report be received and that council have no charge on the entry to the Kurapunamu exhibition. I've moved for a second on that, please. Councillor Neil, Councillor Gillette, all in favour? Against? Councillor Phelps, do you want that recorded against?
As always.
Righto, thank you, Marcus.
You're going to get a lot of repeat visits.
Right. So Lily, we're on to you next, but what I want to do is that now that we've been sitting for 2 hours continuously without a break, does everybody want to carry on? Because we have Lily's report and then we have the administrative board of appointments. So if everybody wants to, if everybody wants to do that, we can move to second a result that the meeting go beyond the 2 hours in accordance with standing orders. Yeah. I'll move to second, Councillor Burden, Councillor Neil, thank you. All in favour? We've all left the room, and that's an aye. Thank you. We will carry on. Lily will be with you in 2 minutes. Joel?
So we just had to look at something that.
We'll hand over to Lindley for the financial performance report. Thanks, Lindley.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and councillors. Through Your Worship, I present the financial report for October. I'll take it as read and through Your Worship.
Questions, please.
Pretty worship, so if race revenue's on target, then so why is overall revenue down?
Overall revenue, that would mainly be, I expect, the revenue from grants, for example, transport. Yeah.
1.725 million over 90 days due grant funding.
I haven't noticed those sort of delays before for that. Is that?
It generally is for NZTA at this time of year. However, this year's a little more exceptional with the delay in actually getting the funding information.
Is mention of, some freedom campaign grant money still outstanding? Well, it's been, my understanding was there was no money.
There's nothing in the budget. It's coming from last year, which we had not received at the end of last year.
Just fair to say, usually, and that I mentioned explains a lot of it. The sustainability report on page 88 isn't very pretty.
Which particular?
The three measures.
No, sorry, I suspect he's talking about the 21% down. The 8% down on expenditure and the 244% on surplus.
Different pages. So the top line.
Somewhere at the top.
Yeah.
Which fluctuates from month to month. We know that, but to have all three out of whack, what that is like that.
So we are fairly early on still really reporting that in the year. Timing differences generally close towards the end of the year. So it could be that we're missing accruals, it could be that the grant funding is just being delayed and we don't have much choice in that. So there's lots of reasons why early on in a financial year things don't look that pretty. And as long as we know what they are, which we've got some good commentary in there.
Yes, in the commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't seen it previously like that, that extent. I think it's the commentary.
Councillor Philip.
Sorry.
Or Your Worship, so the losses on swaps, is that going to be an ongoing trend? Is that?
Yeah, it's very, I've asked for that commentary to be adjusted going forward. So when you have a swap, a hedging instrument, until it becomes to maturity, you're generally running at a loss or a profit, depending on what the markets do. And as it closes to maturity, it's non-cash loss. As it closes to maturity, it comes to par. The only time it would see a loss is if we actually cash it in before maturity, which we wouldn't do. So it is a non-cash and it's a little bit misleading, and I've asked for that narrative to be changed going forward.
And just further to that, we do not rate for losses and gains on swaps. Ratepayers do not fund those.
The grants outstanding as of the 31st of October, we have 20,000 for the Custom House and nothing else listed. Can we, for December, have that 1.725 million at 90 days plus itemised out on that list, just for clarity? So middle of page 96, debtors. At 90 days due for grant debtors, we're looking at 1.725 million over 90 days, and then the table below it with grants outstanding only summarises up to 19,000, so we've got a gap of.
Yes, that you're looking at last year's, the 1.7 is last year's. the current year is the 19th. If you look at the table.
Any questions for Lynn?
Well, through your worship, there's still Custom House is not resolved. Being a member of the sitting in the committee, it's not going to go anywhere, so it needs to be resolved. I know that there's been a meeting between Ira Chakataka and the council, but there's no progress. So where to now?
And I wasn't in that meeting to actually know the content of the discussion of getting updates on that.
Well, I don't believe they're liable. The explanation that was given didn't provide clarity. So they've transferred all funds that were granted under the original project. So this amount, I mean, I think the only bit that's outstanding is about $2,500 in their budget for this. So there's still things murky in this work that was done, repiling that wasn't done when it was budgeted for, and chip sealing that was done to make it look pretty when really it shouldn't have been done in light of the applications of the so very murky.
Through the chair, yes, there's some disputes in there about GST amounts, whether they were on pre and post invoices that come through. We have had various meetings with Ira Chakataka. We're still interacting with them, but to be fair, as they're reneging on the agreement that was originally put in place. So give them a credit for the amount they think is outstanding, and then the ratepayers will have it, and they will be sitting on the grant application money that they committed to the project. It's not going to happen.
Well, I think there was some misinterpretations and possibly misleading in things, certain elements of that project. There was an offer to take up project management. For example, in the original scope of that project, I think allowed for $3,500, and suddenly they get billed for $13,000 for project management. There are other aspects as well. So I think it's not a good look to put the blame on Hope Heritage Chakataka.
I haven't put the blame on them. I said that they're sitting on that grant money. They don't want to commit it to us, so we'll have to credit them back. Exact amount yet to be determined.
I think.
Well, it's not resolved. I'm not saying that it's clear from both parties, but it needs to be resolved.
I think I agree, happily agree, because this has gone on since we came on board with this. And I think it's perhaps potentially going forward, we've got to be very aware of these sort of funding opportunities for community groups. They don't know what we know. There's room for getting off track with what they're aiming to do. So I think we need to look at that going forward and make sure.
Well, it was a very complicated project in the end because it's taken 3 years. It's over the allocation for the funding. They had to get extended, and nothing happened for 2 years. So
it's hard, isn't it? Because with projects, we're expected to be the overseer or the implementer of them, but they want to have ownership and do it. So we've got to find a better way of actually bringing the two together, I think, with that, so we don't have more of this, because at the end of the day, we're just going to be picking up the pieces more often.
It is disappointing when a community organisation like that has the buildings or the project's best interests at heart and then sort of ends up in this almost litigation about who committed to what, and all of a sudden they're a small community group with a very limited budget. They're at breaking point with this, and they've got council saying, well, you owe us more money. You know, they went into this with all the best intentions. It's got a bit out of control, in my opinion, but it's a real shame to see a partnership with council and a community group kind of not working.
I totally agree with you, councillor, and we'll work to correct where we are at now. And to be fair, you're probably so correct. There should have been better groundworks put in place at the start of this project.
I think we should just tidy it up and just learn and move forward. And I agree with Councillor Burnham. We need to support these community groups.
I think that the thing is, there's also a lot of other opportunities out there to do these kind of projects where those community groups can get the funding, where council can't. So we need to come up with a model that we can do that efficiently and not put that community group at risk.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's part of trying to improve things as we go forward, and I appreciate your comments to acknowledging that, because it's, you know, it's a good step forward as well. So, you know, it's life, isn't it? There's always better ways of doing things, and it's not until you get to these situations you find that the problem is now is what do we do to resolve this funding gap that's for them, because basically we've got that hole where we need that money being paid out from them to council for us to recover costs. They don't have the funds left to do it, is that correct?
No, they have the funds left to, we haven't asked for any more money overall than what was initially projected to go into this project. They've just withdrawn that they're not going to pay that funding, so we need to negotiate with them, and then they've been invoiced for it, not willing to pay it, so we'll have to send them a credit.
Councillor Glenn, are you happy to stay involved with this to see?
Yeah, I just want to get it tidied up. I know there's disputes on works that the council did, and there are some funds still remaining that they are withholding because it's outside of scope. They're accountable to lotteries for that. They do everything by the book. Yeah, so, well, we need to kind of get that off the box. And we should be so hard.
And ask Marcus as the community person to do a bit of liaison. Yeah.
So through your worship, do we have a clear list of things we do or don't engage in, this sort of stuff? Because I understand you've got people in the community that want to do things, and they see us as being able to help or provide funds or guidance or whatever, but come along, they have expectations, there's a temptation to say yes and that sort of stuff. Like, do we have a sort of objective set of criteria of things that we do and don't take on? Or is it just a case by case, this seems like a good cause, let's do that? Like, what's the sort of, is there a process, I guess, is my fundamental question.
I don't think there is a process, is there? It's just a case by case.
There's no process, it is case by case, and whether external funding or grants can be.
At the end of the day, we own the building, correct? So we would have had to let it fall down or spend the money on it. So when a community group comes and can get the funding to spend on our building, well, we should be saying, yes, how do we make this work? Which we did, but we ended up in a mess.
I appreciate that.
Yes, but it's about process.
It's our asset or thing, but I'm just, you can sort of see that without some sort of guardrails around it, we could just take on these sort of Frankenstein list of projects, or Frankenstein's monsters list of projects sort of thing, and then we've got more than we can actually handle.
You're quite right, and it's a very valid comment, and I think that's something that we need to do going forward, because we're going to go down this path.
We just need to learn to say no possibly sometimes as well.
Or have a structure in place that they understand.
Through the chair, this is the first lot out of a massive amount of grant projects and projects we've done in conjunction with various organisations that hasn't gone well to the end.
Yeah.
But there's no reason we can't resolve it.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything further for Lynley on the financial performance report? No? Right, can I have a mover and seconder please resolve that the financial performance report for 30 October 2024 be received?
I'll move that the financial performance report for 30 October be received.
Thank you, Councillor Phelps. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gillette, thank you very much. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Lynley, very much for that. Greatly appreciate it. You can see we're getting towards the end of the year, can't you? Right, next up we have the administrative resolutions, the warrant appointments. So with this, who's presenting this? Nobody? So, okay, so it's in front of you, the enforcement officers and what their responsibility is, what their role is within that. So this is just a process that we normally go through, and the resolution that council confirms its seal being affixed to those following documents for those specific people in their roles. Do I move a receipt of place for that? Councillor Gillette, Councillor Phelps, all in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. No, yeah, done. That has those under control. Warranted officers now able to conduct their jobs in completion. With that, is there anything else that, oh, did you want me to bring up the trust trial meeting? We did kind of touch on it before. Starting off the West Coast Wilderness Trail Trust, committee, working group, early days. So we had a meeting the other day, Councillor Davidson and myself met with Earl, David, Jackie Gurdon and John Wood as the leaders of the trust, because we want to try and get our heads around what the trust does and what they bring in to the Wilderness Trails.
And also as a,
Okay, all right, so, yeah, all right. So we'll close the meeting and then talk. That's all right, sorry. All right, so first off, we will close the meeting at 3:30. And then we'll have an